Are you ready to free your mind? If not, go back to sleep because I'm here with Jason Christoff, the fantastic Jason Christoff. He is the mind control expert, and he's joining me here for episode 114 of Be Yourself and Love It podcast on the Conscious Resistance Network. Hi, Jason. It's great to talk to you.
Hey, Anthony, it's good to see you again. Great to connect with you in
That's right.
Mexico as well.
Yeah, so we met at the Greater Reset in Mexico, but your reputation preceded you because I'd heard you in a couple of shows before, and you mentioned you stayed in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And I was like, damn, I stayed there for a few months, but it seems like we just missed each other. So it was good to get to meet you at last, and um, you've got a great story, and you're, I would say, highly specialized. That doesn't mean that you don't have many other things that you're good at, but what I mean is you're like a laser. You shine such a focused light on your area of expertise. And um, some might say mind control expert is a thing, is mind control is a thing, strange thing to become the expert in, unless you're involved in some kind of psyop. So, as a mind control, why don't you tell me how one becomes a mind control expert?
Well, we're all involved in the psyop, Anthony. That's the problem. Is we're all. You don't have to go to a movie tonight. You're already in one.
Okay.
So this we're all in this ongoing psyop. But really, the the reason I investigated this is because I was the absolute human mess at one time, doing narcotics and drinking and hanging around with people I shouldn't be hanging
Mm,
around with, and torpedoing my own success. I was started in business at a very young age, at 24 years old, and I went from, I mean, it wasn't like I was a millionaire or dot-com millionaire, but I think in the first 30 days in business, I managed to make a $26,000 profit for myself. So I quickly went out. I was in the psyop where, if you make a lot of money, you got to do X, Y, and Z. And
mm,
one of the things that you do with a little bit of money, it's not a ton, I mean, it is a ton of money for a 24-year
mm,
old, $26,000 to spend every 30-day period. And I just proceeded to destroy myself with the steroids, the narcotics, the
mm,
drinking, and hanging around with people I shouldn't be hanging around with. Now, I found out only later that this fear of being successful or happy or peaceful is sort of programmed into us,
mm,
where basically if you get into smaller and smaller groups, you feel more and more alone, and we're like this anti loneliness creature. So we don't want
mm,
to be alone. And when
mm,
when you have a man of 24 years old that made $26,000 in his first 30 days of business, you start climbing up the ladder, which means you're in smaller group. And the reason I was destroying myself is because I could only find safety in what was familiar, what I knew, where I was comfortable. So I was really scurrying away from what the only thing that would ever make me happy. But I figured that out later. That's how I started to. The reason why I wanted to learn about mind control is to understand my own behavior, but more
mm.
so understand the behavior of my clients, because I used to be a high end nutrition and exercise specialist. And all my clients were doing the same thing, terrified to be
Mm-hmm.
their best selves.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, I like the way that you described this. We're like we're seeking to come away from loneliness. And also when you said we're in the movie, I feel like that gives us the opportunity for heroism, right? When in dark times that's more of a prompt um to reach for the best in us to overcome those dark circumstances. And it sounds like that's something that you did. What I like about it is you didn't go from the political to the personal, rather than you saw that there was a need for this in your own life as this nutrition coach, to actually learn this so that you could do your job. It's basically the story of, I found this thing to help myself, and then I'm kind of bringing it to the world. So when you were during that period of doing narcotics and hanging around with the wrong people,
Yeah.
what made you think? What were there any triggering events, or like did this culminate in something where you said this just can't go any on anymore? I need to do something different.
Yeah, with the cocaine, that's that
Right.
was
Okay.
definitely one of the triggers where I'm like, if I do another line of cocaine, I'm probably going to die.
Oh
So that
wow.
was sort of an easy way to quit that one self-abusive modality. But the thing about scurrying to the bottom, because there's more people at the bottom, there's many ways to get there. And the way your
Mm,
nervous system is designed, it doesn't care how you get there. So if you give up cocaine and you're still not understanding the problem, that you're dulling your own shine because you're too afraid to go into a smaller group, you haven't done the inner work, the subconscious mind who's coordinating all this says, okay, yeah, give up the cocaine, but drink more or eat more ice
mm,
cream, or
mm,
speed more in your car and get into an accident. Anything to sort of stop the progress, the subconscious is completely okay with. So although I had quit the cocaine, I wasn't really understanding the foundational principles of staying the same when I could become my best self. So I crawled along rock bottom for 2 or 3 more years. And it wasn't just rock bottom. My rock bottom was covered in broken glass. And then it was only after 3 years of being completely ill, completely sick, emotionally bankrupt, spiritually bankrupt, the subconscious would always stick it. I mean, basically what I call the pain teacher. We learn from our pain. She would visit me every day and say, have you had enough yet? Have you had enough yet? And after 3 years, I just looked up at the pain teacher and said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, maybe I'm willing to learn the lessons that you're teaching. And the pain teacher says, okay, great, get up, go make a pot of tea. We have a lot to talk about. You've been ignoring me for the first 35 years of your life. You've missed a lot of lessons. We're going to have a long chat. So be prepared. So that it was when I couldn't, the pain of staying the same was
mm.
bigger than the pain of changing.
So how did you find your way out of this? Because I think that the a lot of people do find themselves in the position to varying degrees where, I mean, I've not met a lot of very happy people in this world, I have to say, especially not in the Western world. And people look for ways out of this and they read the self-help books and things like that. What did you find that helped you get out of this mess, and what was the progression like?
Well, basically, to get out of the mess, it takes a lot of energy. So it's you're going to need a lot of fuel, and there's no two ways around that. Like to sort of deal with your demons or put these things into play, you're going to need this big energy reservoir, and you're going to need someone to mimic. You're going to need a leader. So I got both at the same time. I went to California. There's a man called Paul Chek, Chek, and Paul was there to basically teach me what it is about health, what it really means to be healthy. Now, that gave me the energy to start tackling my demons. It took a ton of energy, and Paul is a great role model. So I didn't really want to be exactly like Paul, but I wanted to mimic and emulate his leadership, that he
Mm,
was
mm,
focused and passionate about what he was doing. And so that really started me off. It certainly wasn't where I ended, but to be financially secure, to uh, work like I wanted to work, produce podcasts, produce articles. We're producing a documentary right now. You have to
mm,
work a little bit longer than the
mm,
average person, and without health, you're
mm.
probably not going to get there. So health was my foundational pillar.
Right. So the first thing was to get your health back in order. And then how did you know what you wanted to do with this information? Was it just clear as day as soon as you started to kind of transcend your own challenges, that this was the most important thing you could be doing with your life?
Well, I definitely looked over the huge spectrum of problems in our society, and I found out all of them are related to mind control.
Hmm.
Even where I was just at the U.S. Senate at this COVID roundtable with Senator Ron Johnson, and we had all these people testifying. Like this one guy, Edward Dowd, was testifying of the hundreds of billions of dollars in lost revenue because of the crippling effect of the medical experiment. And then the next guy was doing the heart attack statistics. The next guy was doing the stroke statistics. And the whole thing was none of that would have happened if we knew about mind control. They are all symptoms of people getting put under mind control. And that's sort of what I figured out very early in the game is that all our problems, even when I used to visit the hospital, Anthony, there's a chocolate bar machine, a pop
It's
machine, a chip
unbelievable.
machine. And I'm like, what's going on? But they're all symptoms of mind control. Whoever has running the hospital, they're under mind control. So I said, instead of bitching about things that aren't working properly. Let's get to the root cause. Everybody's hacking wildly at the branches of the
Hmm.
problem. Let's get to the root cause and just say, it doesn't matter if someone's queued up, lining up for the medical experiment, or they're giving their kid a cancer causing iPad to play with. It's all based on mind control. Everything that we're doing wrong is because of these fine nuances in the human nervous system that are being taken advantage of by the controlling group. So I said, you know what? Let's go out and really try to educate people about the root cause, but also I wanted a big group around me. And because I didn't want to be lonely. And when I would play these mind control videos, I would just basically say on social media, check out this video. Isn't this the most craziest thing you've ever seen in your life?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
everybody would be like, wow, where can I see more of these videos? That's absolutely insane. So I
Hmm.
was just gathering a good group around me because I felt super alone. And
Hmm.
I just thought this material is the most fantastical material to sort of put a new tribe around me so that we all feel
Hmm.
like we're a little safer.
You mentioned that you were at this committee in Congress, and I think you were at something in Europe as well. These are quite interesting. People might wonder how you get invited to these kinds of things to give advice.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Well, what I used to do is I would present this information sort of
Mhm.
on the Canadian scene. And I'm what I really researched for the first 20 years 15 years of my career was vaccines. I
Right.
would post about vaccines every single day. I was calling out stuff,
Hmm.
decades ago about polio my polio article is, one of the most well-read polio articles in the world. And so I would get invited to Vaccine Choice Canada, which is
Mm.
sort of it's not it's an organization in Canada that goes and protects children. Protecting children is the main part of my mission. So I would go talk to there, and there would be all kinds of medical doctors in the audience, and I would convince them of my argument. And it wouldn't be directly on vaccines; it'd be more on mind control. And many of the doctors there put my name in to these committees and
Mm.
said, "Look, you got to have this guy speak, although he's not a PhD." Or a doctor, he makes the mind control issue very easy to understand. And if we don't have this kind of explanation, we're just going to be documenting the narrative of disaster. We have to make the public understand that they are under mind control, and that's why they're doing this illogical and irrational behavior. And when I went the first time, they were flabbergasted. So I've been invited back 3 or 4 times since.
Yes, I mean, you have a really excellent presentation to make, probably several of them, and you've really finely tuned your art. I like it how you bring it back to brass tacks for something like if you're in the hospital and you want to go to the vending machine for a chocolate bar and you think, I don't know if I'm going to get through this without a chocolate bar. How long am I going to wait until I get my, how long do I have to wait until I can have a chocolate bar and whatnot? You know, your mind is not your own. You're not, you're, you're under the influence of forces that are out of your control. And I think people feel this in many different ways. They feel it, say, they want to work on projects, but they never feel like it and things like that. So,
Yeah.
what is the how does one sort of open the door to start to transcend their own conditioning, let's say?
Well, I think they should. It's easy to, it's better to just don't worry about changing, number one, because that's too
Okay.
much pressure. So we tell people, look, let's say something that's a really, that's not even a deep rabbit hole. It's just an unbelievable rabbit hole that all the coffee shops are in on the con job. So it's not very deep. It's just people are like, I don't even understand what that means. And I'm like, okay, well, there's all kinds of research I could give you as to why coffee is a basically one of the primary weapons of the group we're dealing with. Absolutely. But they trick you to drink it using very, very simple mind control tactics. 85% of all mind control is repetition. And they use the movies and the TV shows to drive this repetition into your subconscious pathway. Now, the thing about repetition, Antony, is the subconscious loves you and wants you to be safe. And the repetitive content represents what the bigger herd is saying, thinking, or doing. Now, the group ruling us knows this. So the group ruling us knows that, look, if I can put a lot of repetition of the same object or theme into the public, they will act it out in an attempt to find safety with the bigger herd. So I tell people, look, if you want the first step to get out of this, address the world's biggest psyop, which is the coffee.
Wow.
And do not try to stop drinking it. Don't even really think about it. Just keep enjoying your coffee and keep watching your movies and keep watching your TV shows. But make a little bit of a game. For the first 15 or at most 20 minutes of any movie, only 20, because they'll put it in the first 15 minutes. If not, it's 90% is in the first 15 minutes. Look for a coffee cup. Take out coffee cup. Look for a coffee mug. Now, the coffee mug could be on a police officer's desk. The coffee mug could be on the back counter. Take out coffee cup could be in someone's hand. Look for a coffee machine on the back counter at the place of work or in the kitchen, percolator coffee machine or an espresso coffee machine. Or look for a coffee shop in the background. So, and then when you watch 10 movies and you see that I'm 100% right through all 10 of the movies, and knowing the group that's, attacking us and have been attacking us for a long time. And if you don't know anything about the group, just email me at info@jchristoff.com. I got 12 great videos to explain to you who they are. But all you need to do is start asking yourself, okay, I never knew about this before. I've watched 10 movies, and within the first 15 minutes, I've seen that coffee cup, the takeout coffee, the takeout coffee cup, the coffee mug, the coffee machine on the back counter, or the coffee shop. Now I'm curious. So it's all about raising curiosity. It isn't giving all the information at once. And I'll tell you the second most frequent theme that they'll riddle throughout the background, because that's where the subconscious shops for its cues on what to mimic, is alcohol. And once something's being normalized in mind control, you're in a very, very dangerous quicksand sort of situation. So when you go on a plane today, Antony, and you don't even question that the cart of alcohol is up and down the center aisle. And then when you get off the plane, you go to your hotel room, there's alcohol in the minibar. You go down to the restaurant, there's alcohol there. Alcohol commercials. There's a reason for that. And it has nothing to do with your benefit. has everything to do with your slavery. And once it's being normalized to the point where you don't question it, you just say, that's the way we do things around here. Once you're there, they got you. So it's
Right.
important to start looking at the movies for the most repetitive content, understand it's there on purpose, and just that's where you start. The agenda behind it, the brain changes that make you more susceptible to mind control when you're caffeinated or alcoholized. Don't worry about that.
Hmm.
Come see me when you realize that something weird's going on with your media. I'll take you from there. But at least you got to get there yourself.
Right. One of the things you mentioned was that there was a Starbucks cup in every shot or in every scene in Fight Club, the movie Fight Club, which was quite shocking. So, so this might be some information that people don't want to hear, but I don't want to pull any punches. I myself am a one coffee a day, but limited and capped at one. Ca so tell me what I'm doing wrong, Jason. Don't pull any punches. Reveal the reveal the truth of my unhealthy habit and why this is bad for my mind.
Well, I tell people, look, don't worry about drinking the coffee, but why don't you do this? Keep drinking the coffee, but maybe get this book called Caffeine Blues
Mm,
by Stephen Chernisky. And I think you could even find it online. Even if you email me, I
mm,
can give it to you for free, I think. I think I got it online. So
mm.
email me at info@jchristoff.com and just read the
Get the
first
cliff
30
notes.
pages, right?
Okay.
Read the first while you're drinking the coffee.
Mm,
So you're not losing your mind. But what you'll see with that book, and there's a whole bunch of other books too. So that book is more the physical,
mm.
the way coffee destroys your physicality
Right.
and your health. And you know what? I didn't believe any of the like when
Mm,
I got that book, I
mm.
was like basically every page I'm like, you got to be shitting me. There's
Right.
no way. And it
Mm.
was like it causes carpal tunnel syndrome. I'm like,
Uh-oh.
how? And then it causes ulcers. I'm like, how? And then it causes Crohn's and diverticulitis and colitis. Then it causes strokes and blood clots. And I'm like, how? It causes depression. It causes migraines. It caused so much stuff. And he explains it so clearly.
Mm.
And, he actually highlights too that every positive study ever highlighted in the media is done by the
Yeah.
coffee lobby. It's called the coffee lobby. So,
Yeah, of
it makes
course.
vaccine science look legitimate.
It's
Uh,
Yeah, it's
Go
one of
ahead.
these things like every so often they'll have a frontline headline says one glass of wine a day is good for you, and it's like, come on, this is nonsense, and it's so obviously funded by the alcohol industry, and there's so many other studies that say that this isn't true, but they don't make headlines because it's not that interesting to say. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think that coffee is good for me, but I do think that it's implicated in mind control because I like to sit with my laptop in a coffee shop and write. And yeah, okay, you could say that's like a little experience, maybe harken back to the philosophers like Sartre in France, or oh, it's got this, you know, I'm not a fan of Marx. I know you're not either because you talk about how Marxism has influenced the political system. But one thing he talks about, which was quite interesting, was called fetishism of commodities. So a cup of coffee isn't just a coffee anymore. It's now associated with this you fetishize coffee into, oh, friends. If I drink coffee, then I'll have great friends like Monica and Chandler. So I think that was quite a good observation that Marx had about the fit. And obviously there's something that I fetishize about the experience of going to a cafe and sit with my laptop and having a coffee, because I could just have a herbal tea, but some for some reason I don't feel like it. That doesn't seem the same to me. So explain my damage and how I start to unprogram it.
There's no damage there because coffee, I mean, the Vienna coffee houses is sort of, they say, launched a lot of the Western ideas. The thing about coffee, it does exactly what you said, Anthony. It
Mm,
helps you focus.
Mm.
But and I'll give you a secret. In sort of old hypnosis or older style hypnosis at the carnivals 150 years ago, there'd be an old man with a pocket watch on a chain.
Mm.
And he would ask you, look at the watch. So that's called fixing of the gaze.
Mm-hmm.
It's called focusing. Now, focus rhymes a little bit with hocus pocus because when you fix your attention on a singular point of, what do they say, point of attention, you actually trigger the subconscious mind to open right up. And
Mm.
that's the part that takes the direction or the suggestion from the hypnotist. So, although you can write very clearly when you're caffeinated, you're missing the peripheral influences that allow you to make full spectrum positive decisions in your life.
Mm.
So there's two sort of parts of your brain, the conscious and the subconscious. The subconscious does what it's told, and because doing what you're told is a defensive mechanism that
Mm.
works when you're not looking over the full spectrum. So by focusing, you put yourself in deep hypnosis. It
Mm.
helps you write, but it also helps trigger a part of the brain that's more prone to do what it's told.
Mm.
So the focus is the big issue, and it is
Mm.
hypnosis. Caffeine puts you into a form of beta brainwave state hypnosis.
Yeah, and I get so buzzed off one coffee, and then that's why I can't myself. My girlfriend put the lid on it and said that's one and you're done. But I took that to heart myself because I definitely noticed that I couldn't have any more than one. So then I walk around the block, and I'm a little at a loss for what to do when I want to go into a place, but I don't want to buy another cup of coffee because everything is mediated through commerce, and so it's quite interesting. So one of the things I like you're very fond of saying, and is that if you're somehow down in this system, your mind is working perfectly. It's doing just exactly what it ought to be doing in some way, because you're talking about how the unconscious is wired up to respond to the world we live in exactly that way. I was wondering if you could expand on it better than I have.
Oh, yeah. If anybody's having a hard time, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not
Right.
defective. You didn't get a broken body out of the factory. You
Right.
got a perfectly working body. And we mimic what we see in our environment. The people who rule us have this saying: what's on the screen at noon will be on the street at night. And it can
Mm.
be that quick. I mean, in 1986, there was a movie called Top Gun. Everybody knows about that. Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer. And when that movie came out, the flight school, Top Gun, received 500% more applications that
Mm.
year. So we see something, we go do it. And even in the movie Fast and the Furious, if you were one of the lucky people to have your brand maybe on the blower of the car or the rims of the car in the movie Fast and Furious or the stereo, the people who happened to get their brand into this low budget movie when it came out, it wasn't going to be a super hit. Their sales went up 1,000% or more because humans mimic, copy, and emulate what they see on a repetitive basis. And just to try and fit into the tribe. I mean, basically, when you're watching Fast and the Furious, Antony, your body, your brain, your subconscious doesn't know you're in a theater. It thinks you're in a Fast and Furious tribe.
Mm.
And to bond and be safe with the Fast and Furious tribe, you got to go get the fast cars. So if anybody, like, just think about what I just said and know that the most repetitive content in all your movies is coffee.
Mm.
So if you're out there drinking coffee and the second most frequent is alcohol, and you're out there drinking alcohol, you're working as designed. You're this love, this system of love for you that protects you through the assessment of your environment and then mimicking outside your conscious awareness the most repetitive content. You mean that's what you're designed to do. It's just these vipers in power know the
Mm,
system better than anybody. And they're like, well, let's not give them something positive to mimic. Let's always
mm,
give them something negative to mimic. Because, of course, government, everybody knows the word government is actually Latin and French for the words mind control. But for government to exist, you have to be sort of a coffee drinking, messy, Netflix watching, don't care sort of person. You just got to be unfocused. They know that, so they take their media and everything that's repetitive is really about poisoning you.
mm,
It's always about, and they can't do it themselves, right, Antony? I mean, you'd probably say something's up if they came and made you drink coffee every morning at gunpoint. But if you
mhm,
do it yourself, you'd never think that you could be conned to hurt yourself. But I'm not saying stop your coffee, but I'm just saying open the aperture a little bit. It's planet mind control.
mhm.
It's mind control wall to wall.
But people will say, Jason, I mean, you're against smoking and alcohol and junk food and just about everything. Like, I don't want to live like a priest. Surely life's all about balance, isn't there? The people I don't know who don't drink or do anything, they're all like stuffed shirts and they're boring. Like, isn't there some kind of balance to be struck? Isn't part of this life involved? You can work hard during the week and then go out in the weekend with your buddies and have a couple of drinks. Where is it? Does it have to be such a straight line?
Well, no, but I'm just saying if it was about balance, why's the person got nothing in their bank account? Why
Right.
why can't they work out like they did when they were 20 or
Mm,
25 years old? Is it really about balance, or is the balance about staying exactly the same because it's safe?
mm,
So, someone progresses with 5 days of healthy eating and then destroys it on the weekend. And so, if you were to add up the 7 days in regards to progress, they stayed the same. So, if you do that every week of your life, you don't move. And I'll
mm,
tell you what part of the body loves you not moving because it
mm,
loves the script that you know and it doesn't like the script that it doesn't know. It's the subconscious. Its
mm,
job is to keep everything the same. So, is it really about balance? Because most people I meet are completely imbalanced. They're
mm,
addicted. They live paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, how do you live paycheck to paycheck on this planet when you're supposed to accumulate knowledge and that knowledge is supposed to make life easier
mm,
every year? Most
mm.
people I meet, their life's harder every year. They have less money, worse relationships, greater addictions, worse health. And I'm like, where's the balance? I don't see the balance.
Right. So, what do you like to do in the evenings or weekends to unwind and have fun when you're not working?
Well, I work quite a bit. That's one of my
Mhm.
addictions that produces some problems all on its own. We
Oh,
all
okay.
have our little addictions.
Yeah.
But I'll do a massage if I had a good day. I'll go get a massage here in Latvia. Got the best massage therapist of all time, I think. And I'll go to the park. I'll go work out, and I'll go to the spa. And I always know there's a draw to sedate. Like I feel it too. Like maybe I get
Mm,
drawn to have a coffee. I'd like to check out.
mm,
And if you push that, maybe for me, I might have an espresso 6 times a year, maybe 8 times a
mm,
year. But it's better than having it 365 days
mm.
a year. And
I feel triggered by this. This. No, I'm just kidding.
but I used to, don't forget, for anybody out there, I
Mm,
used to drink 15 martinis a night.
wow.
No, but that wasn't every night. Like I'm not some kind of
Any
legend like
a-
that.
any night you used to drink 15. It's very popular, not particularly martinis, but to have 15 drinks in a night here in Scotland in the weekend. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but I would only do it maybe once a week. But it took me
Hmm.
2.5 years to quit the alcohol. And then once I quit, I went 9 years without even a sip, which
Wow.
means even when I go to Italy, go to a tour of a winery with my family and friends, and they'd
Mm,
always try and even make me take a sip of, and I just say no. Then one of my friends who owned a bar in Santorini, he passed away, great friend. And they said his last wish was all the friends back in the bar drinking and having fun and dancing on the bar. And I said,
Right.
this is the night I drink again
Yeah, that's good.
because I
Yeah,
wasn't going
and
to insult my dead friend.
oh, for sure, and it's interesting. It's funny that people do that with the wine, you know. Oh, just have a sip, just have a sip. I feel like it's less common than it used to be when when I was younger. People were really big with the peer pressure, and now I think I've seen people are a lot more respectful and they understand if someone doesn't want to drink, then they don't tend to push it as much as I used to see 10, 15, 20 years ago. But it is an interesting cultural phenomenon. But given that you said, you know, you kind of work quite a lot, and you're maybe inclined towards a compulsive personality, do you think that's part of why it's so important for you to draw such strict lines? Or do you think that's just an excuse for people who don't want to completely get rid of their vices?
No, I think, I mean, in terms of my work addiction, so you're asking if it's something that sort of I keep very strict because I know I could go off into the bushes with some of
Hmm.
the old addictions. Is that what you mean, Anthony?
Well, I mean, you're obviously, when you commit to something, you really commit. When you were taking cocaine and partying, you know, you were really into that lifestyle, and now you're really into the lifestyle of work, being wholesome, and you can't, and maybe, you know, moderation is not for you. You can't just be someone who has a couple of drinks in the weekend or something like that. It's you need to commit to a certain kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I just I do some moderation, but
Mm,
I'm more focused on putting my energy into a place where I'm going to get a positive result.
mhm,
And I know it's a very small group. Like I probably work 10 hours a day, 9 hours a day on my businesses, on my writing, new documentary coming out. But the thing about the safety that you get from those rituals,
mhm.
I find it's real safety.
Right.
Where if I just mimic the repetitive content of my environment, I'll feel safe. But there's no safety in drinking. There's no safety in
Mhm.
cocaine. There's no safety in watching 3 hours of Netflix a night when I could be doing 3 hours of Spanish and Italian lessons, which I
Yeah,
do on
that's good.
Duolingo, right? So I'm always working on
Mm,
things that make my life better,
mm,
trying to learn Italian. I'm shopping for some real estate in Italy, which is quite fun. Even if I don't buy any, it's
mm.
fun to get down there and look around and
Oh,
dream
yeah.
a little bit.
People would
So,
love to be able to do that, you know, to be able to go away and look around and dream of, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice to buy this?" You know? Not everyone has the capacity. It's fantastic. Go on.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I've built that capacity my whole life with the work addiction. And then now I'm starting to actively slow down and try and deal with the work addiction. That's why the extra massages, the extra
Mm,
workouts. So, yeah, I turned all my addictive force into a work addiction. But when I get around other leaders, like, say, Paul Check, one of
mm,
the mentors, the people I look up to, he gets up at 3 every morning and he works till 8 o'clock at night every night. He just finished publishing a 15 volume set of his work that's
mm,
coming out. And how could you write 15 books? I didn't even know he was writing one book. He's
mm,
finished 15.
mm.
So when I'm in this other group, I mean, we're productive people
Right.
in this smaller group. So it's sort of like who you're hanging around.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's the norm. That's the repetitive content in that group is you pursue your dreams, you put your energy into creating, and that's a new norm and a better norm. And I have to say, Jason, like I've had people in my life base who I thought were good friends basically phase me out of friend groups because I was doing stuff and they weren't. I remember this very clearly, and I moved city to be with friends that I thought were my best friends, and they always talked about doing stuff, and they always talked about, I'm going to stop smoking, and but fundamentally they wanted to get stoned together and watch a movie, and I didn't like smoking weed. Or they wanted to get, or if they had a couple of drinks, they felt completely comfortable doing nothing. So over time, which they didn't feel when they were sober, they felt pressure to do something. They felt pressure to do something meaningful when they were sober. But
Mm.
oh, we're just baked. We'll watch a movie, and I didn't like that. So they hung around more and more around the people who like to do that, and less around me. So you're talking about a different level of commitment altogether. And they say that you become the average of the five people you spend the most time around, and there must be some truth in that.
Absolutely. There's a great book that came out. I can't remember it. I'll try and send it to you because I have it on file. But they really investigated that you are the average weight, the average income of your
Wow.
five best friends.
Wow.
And not only that, they got into some weird cymatic vibration frequency stuff where they started to measure the income and the weight and health and disease sets of the friends, and there was a correlation,
Mm. Wow.
even though they never met the friends of the friends. So there's a whole book on that. I think on YouTube there's a bit of a review of it. I don't like the title. It says "Do your fat friends make you fat?" And obviously I don't like
It's a
titles like that.
clickbait title,
Yeah, but
It's
he discusses the book and some of the studies, which is really bizarre. But yes, we are, and that's why when I say go to these meetings or speak at these parliaments, I'll speak in a retreat
right.
because I'm very picky about, I'll shake hands, but I'm not going to get into any deep bonds
Mm-hmm.
unless I sort of figure people out
Mm-hmm.
before I get into the longer conversations.
Mm.
So, because I don't want my subconscious being dominated by the way they talk, the way they act, what they eat. So I'm sort of a recluse, and you'll notice too when you met me, Anthony. In Mexico, I'm always a standoffish guy, a little bit
Mm.
shy. People
Mm.
think sometimes it's a bit of I might be a little conceited or vain, but really I'm just sort of, I don't like to bond too much,
Mm.
probably because of my traumatic childhood as well.
Mm.
I'm not trusting
Mm.
of all the humans. I
Mm.
had a really hard childhood.
Yeah, I didn't perceive you as like, I didn't perceive that as some people might, like, you were cold. Like, if someone's distant, I saw that you had, but what I mean is I saw that what you describe in you, but I didn't find it in any way offensive, because I thought you were just doing your thing. You came in, you were friendly, you were nice, you were polite, and you were kind to people and things like that. But obviously, you need to keep your own space. You've created an energy bubble around yourself, which is serving you, and it feeds back into your purpose. And most people have not accomplished that in their life. To craft this kind of bubble around them, that all the energy is going back in, focus, creative. Um, they're negative. Their mind is not focused. It can't go in one direction. It's here, it's there, and it's everywhere. And you can come into that, but you don't want to be pulled into the chaos, I guess. So you're very respectful and caring of your own energy. And uh, now that you've said what you said, it makes sense of that for me. So I appreciate that. In that respect, you're a role model, and that's something that I'll need to think about as well. And what this conversation has made me think about in terms of other people is, a lot of the best friendships I've had have been based around creativity, where it was being in a band. I had sitting down with a writing partner, and writing a play or talking about
Mm.
creative projects. And for people who need that more social contact. What are we going to do? That's the thing. It's like, what around here, it's like, do you want to go out for a drink? Oh, shall we meet up for a drink? or go out for a coffee. You know, what other activities can people do to replace these things to a degree? Everything's mediated by commerce. I don't feel like good if I go out and then I need to eat some junk food or something like that. I like to have my smoothie every morning. Do you know what I mean? So these are things you could do. You can have collaborative partnerships, and really good friends are formed around those, whether it's playing music or running a business um or writing something or creating a website, creating content. Um, so it gives me a little food for thought, and maybe people at home as well.
Yeah, for me, I mean, yesterday I had sort of a clear day, so I went to the gym and had a little bit of an extra workout, so an hour and a half at the gym, and then I went for a massage and really took my time getting there, walking there, sat down in the park, tried to enjoy my life, enjoy the fruits of the labor, just sort of a lazy day. And then I walked up and made an appointment at my favorite barber shop in Riga, Latvia for next week. And then on the way back, I stopped at my favorite restaurant and had my favorite fish dish that was completely healthy. No dessert, no coffee, no alcohol, just halibut with asparagus and broccoli and a bottle of sparkling water with some olives as the sort of the appetizer.
Mm,
And then I came home, cleaned up the condominium here, listened to some podcasts from Alex Zek, and thought, you know what, it was a good day. And oddly enough, too, Anthony, last night I screwed up the time. I had to give a lecture at 1 o'clock in the morning
mm,
Latvian time, so it was a bit of a hectic night. But yeah, so you can fill up your day with positive things if you wish, for sure.
mm. Yeah, again, like going to the gym with a buddy is something that I've enjoyed, and that's so you can um make social events, growthful events. They don't all need to be about careering through the city. So, okay, I'm not being funny, but like you don't listen to look back on any of those times where you went partying and had took substances and I don't know, um, met someone good looking or something like that and go, wow, that was a great time.
Yeah, you'll always feel like it's a great time with the nostalgic point of view, but when you were doing it, like it was really a road to disaster.
Okay.
I remember, being in wild situations with women
Hmm.
and crazy, like crazy scenarios with mobsters and
Oh man.
stuff that people would be like, I can't believe you're alive, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm alive either. So it goes far in
Right.
in a conversation that I've done all these crazy things, but if I would have kept doing them, I wouldn't have fulfilled my cosmic charge. I would have been doing the spiritual bypass. I'm not here to self-gratify.
Mm,
And the reason we're under attack today is because everybody's sort of living this me lifestyle all
mhm,
day, every day, as Mark
mhm,
Passio says, me all day, every day.
mhm,
So I was doing that and I had to pull out
mhm,
because I was going to die.
mhm.
And I wasn't here to just be another partier. I was here to heal. That's my name. Christoff, Christ means healer.
There you go. So, have you done Chris Thrall's show then? The he wrote a best-selling book called Eating Smoke. He was into all that, and it got involved in the Chinese triads. And I'll put you in touch. I bet you guys would have a really good conversation. He does a good show. He cleaned up his mental mess to a large extent as well. Okay, so you said they. Okay, I've got a couple more questions.
Sure.
I like the. You said you've they you've got various words for them, the controllers, the dominant group. What do you think they want? Because when you look at you think this world could be a paradise and it wouldn't be that hard either with the information and technology and things like that that we've got. but a lot of it's being put to misuse. Why wouldn't you use it to help people? Why wouldn't you use it to turn the place into paradise? What do they want? They want.
Well, they want, I tell people, look, when you get down to the bottom layer of the rabbit hole, it looks more like a Harry Potter movie than it does science and what we think
Right.
is really going on here on the planet. But they want death. And it's really not humans, it's something controlling the humans, whether we don't really know. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, the people, it doesn't matter if they're trying to cut off the food supply, that ends in death.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if they're trying to turn every kid, tell every kid in school to castrate themselves or take sterilization chemicals, that ends in extinction. It doesn't matter if you push poison under your skin, that ends with death or early death. It doesn't matter. Everything, they're blocking out the sun. I mean, what human's going to block out the sun? What human's going to spray poison on the food that they're going to eat?
Mm-hmm.
What human
I know
is
it's
going to
crazy.
piss and shit in the only water that they need to survive? No human's going to do that. So what's really going on? We're going to have to follow the breadcrumbs of people like David Icke. Even the CIA has released documentation that there's some weird stuff going on in terms of sort of like an ancient Wi-Fi, as we would say. There's something controlling humans. The more poisoned you are, the easier you are to control. And everything these defective humans are about, it's death centric. It's that death drive. They want to execute death. They want to kill everything. They love killing the birds because of the fake avian flu. They love killing, and
It's
that's what
uncanny.
they want. It's a death cult, and we don't really know what drives it. It's the basic rule of the ancients was we don't know what's going on with some of the humans here that like death, but we got to keep an eye on everybody. It's called Watiko.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody exhibits this death drive, they have to be dealt with immediately
Mm-hmm.
before they gain power and start facilitating their death cult philosophy. And we forgot that because obviously there's something controlling the governments in all these countries, and everything's about depopulation and sterilization. And we really have to understand we might not get the full analysis, the full grip of what's driving that, but we got to remove these people from power before they remove us. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what this group wants: wall to wall death.
Yeah, and it's serious because there's an extreme amount of suffering on this planet, unnecessary suffering. And if I could
Yeah.
say what people are suffering more than anything else is their own minds, it's a little bit of a cliche, but if you loudly, vocally talk to not you, Jason, because you've handled your capacities extremely well. If the average person loudly spoke to others the way that they speak to themselves, it would be instantly recognizable as pathological. You'd be like, this is abusive. What you're,
Mhm.
so, but the thing is, like, I'm a counselor, right? So I have the privilege of helping other people working on their problems as well as working on my own, which gives me a broader range of experience. But one of the things that I've found is the emotion that underlies the negative thinking is so forceful and compelling in people's psychology that in the grip of that emotion, it's hard to take someone seriously saying you should be more positive, talk nicer to yourself or anything like that. So I wonder if you've got, well, first comment and then I'll follow up.
Yeah. Today, again, people working as design, nothing really wrong with them. The average 18-year-old sees 16,000 murders on TV by the time they're 18.
Mm,
So you can see that if we have a subconscious mind pathway that mimics the primary patterns of our environment, of course we're going to be death centric ourselves. And when I say death centric, the average person would probably assume I mean me invoking death on something or someone outside of me. That's not the way this programming works. Whatever your program, you will execute it strongest at the tower, and you are the radio tower. So if you're programmed with death-centric philosophy, that the biggest group where the safest behavior can be executed, and the behavior to be executed in order to be safest is self-abusive, you're going to abuse self first and others second. So a lot of this death-centric philosophy is executed on our home field first before it's executed on secondary people outside ourselves.
So for so let's have a couple of takeaways if we can then for someone who's struggling with that low emotion, negative self-talk, emotionality. They're because of that, their negative thoughts seem very true and very compelling. Where's a good place to start? What are some good exercises that people can just maybe start to reorient themselves towards a more positive frame of mind? Some of us, like me, I don't really watch TV or very rarely watch movies or anything like that. So it can't all be the television.
Absolutely. But say the person's in the radio, and you might be listening to REM. Everybody hurts sometime, right? Or you might be listening to, is it McLean, American Pie, This Is the Day That I Die. In that song American Pie, he says die 19 times. And then maybe you're listening to Beck on the radio. I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? And so I tell people, look, you want to start this off, don't change at all. Just listen to the words on your songs, watch the TV shows, and understand it's, like I said, 16,000 murders by the time the average person's 18. You know how many repetitions it takes to change behavior? 2. So if you're getting anything negative on any of your media, anything, and it's 2 repetitions or more, your behavior is going to be changed. So investigate the quagmire of what you already have yourself in, and then understand nothing in your life will ever change unless you manufacture your tribe yourself. I manufacture my tribe every day. Positive podcasts, positive images on the wall, geometric shapes around my neck that are proven to throw out cymatic vibrations that are beautiful, that are symmetrical, which is what health is all about, which is what positivity is. It's a symmetrical vibration, beautiful vibration. So it's not about trying to change. It's about, are you ready to analyze your environment in a very truthful way, sit in that environment and see the repetitive liarrhea that you're drowning yourself in every single day, and know that's why you're having trouble. And then when you realize that, now you start building your own repetitive content in your own life, knowing that that's the only thing that's ever going to change you.
So should we be using affirmations and every day and things like that?
Absolutely. The quickest way to change is hypnosis, because you have direct access to this reflexively obedient part of the brain called the subconscious. And that's why with all my programs, I have a hypnosis library. I have a certified RTT hypnotherapist on my team, on my staff, that makes these hypnotherapies for all my students and coaches. And that's the quickest way. We also make affirmations on what's called wall art. And then it's not only about that, we expose how they're programming people. That's the biggest thing. Look how they're programming you, because that'll give you the rage energy to finally change. That's where it all starts. It's like, I'm not going to start with the hypnotherapy. I end with it. I say, look at these vipers over here in this movie that you watched. Did you see this? Did you see that? Did you see that? Let me slow it down. Let me show you this. And the people are like, holy shit. I've never seen that before. I can't believe that's in the movie. And I said, they're after you. And if you're going to use fear to get someone moving, I endorse that fear. They're after you and they're winning. So
Mm.
what you need to do is understand that to start to get the energy. Fear and rage energy are great if you channel it in the right direction to run out of the burning house and stop running into it.
Yeah, because we'll sometimes do a lot, especially if you're at that level where you find it hard to be good to yourself. A lot of the time, you'll do a lot more in relation to others than you will to yourself. I'll show them, well, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to be a mug. I'm going to get out of this um, psyop. So we're going to take back our minds. Jason, thank you for being a role model. Thank you for talking. Thanks for walking the walk, because we need to see people doing it, crushing it and being happy. And that says, well, I can do that too, because it's part of the larger group that I'm. Jason Christoff is part of the larger group, the same movement that I'm a part of. If he can do it, then I can. Any links or anything you want to send people to before we wrap up?
Well, I like to just tell people, look, it's about progress. It's not about perfection. Inside all my teachings, the victory is farther, like longer and longer durations away from the thing that hurts you. So, if you take a break of hurting yourself, that's 3 days, and you were hurting yourself every day before, and on the fourth day you get back into that thing that hurt you, that's a total win. So just
Mm.
understand it's about progress. It's not about perfection. And if anybody wants to get on my private email list, just email me at info@jchristoff.com. I have programs you don't have to join. I'll just educate you for free, probably about 2 to 3 times a week on the Christoff Report. I'd love to have you.
Okay, you're some man. Thank you again. And you guys at home, be yourself. But don't just be yourself and love it.